What's up everyone? If you watched my last video, then you know that I just tested a compressor, and this time we are going to test a really good compressor instead. But I only have the demo version of this plugin, so I read that there will be crackles every once in a while. I hope that is okay with everyone. Now first of all, I want to show you the music again. It is the same music as my last video, but you know, it might be that some people have not watched the other video. Let's just check it out. Yeah, demo version. I get it. Currently it is on the entire instrumental group. Let's just see what it does here. Okay, so we immediately notice that it's a very well-defined compressor. It has auto makeup gain enabled by default. You can disable it, but it works fine apparently. And you can just use the threshold knob, the ratio, to turn in the basic settings. You get a nice responsive curve here that moves smoothly and acts nicely. And then you can also tweak attack and release. I was just wondering where the values of the parameters are. Then I saw that up here it shows up when you are moving the parameter. I mean, that's a little bit unfortunate because I'm not up here with my eyes when I'm using a parameter normally, but I will be there sometimes, I guess. Now we have a range from 0.1 milliseconds. In the center we have 15 milliseconds, and then the maximum value is 150 milliseconds. So this encourages for some very fast settings. On release, slowest time is 15 milliseconds. So what we had here, then the center time is 260 or something, and then 2.5 seconds is the longest time. So the release parameter is actually in general longer than the attack, and that also makes a lot of sense. The RMS window parameter is one that I didn't have in any compressor plugin so far, so I have to still find a feeling for it. But I know what RMS windows are. It's just how long it takes to get a new RMS value from the thing that counts the RMS values inside to generate the envelope follower from it. So I suppose longer values are a little bit less responsive. Now let's see what adapt feels like. Okay, I must say I have no idea, and I don't care so far. I have to tell you the reason why I was suggested this compressor. I'm a big fan of Bitwig's stock compressor called Compressor. It sounds like this. As you can hear, it is a very distorting compressor, a very smashy one, and I just really enjoy that. I was wondering why it is so smashy, why does it sound so much more drastical than most other compressors out there, and then I was told it is actually a feedback compressor. So I asked into the crowd if anyone knows another feedback compressor to check out that they would recommend, and that's why someone recommended to me Presswerk by Yeeaaa or Yeeaaa. I don't know. And it has a feedback topology. It is not the default setting. So we are setting it to feedback now because obviously I want to explore the feedback setting. I'm a bit surprised now though, because I didn't hear the crackles yet that are supposed to come up in demo mode. Am I doing anything wrong? Okay, I cannot really tell if I can hear the difference between feed forward and feedback on the whole mix, but I mean, let's just take this off this track now and instead instantiate one only on the drums output on here. And again, I will remove Pro C2 for that, so that, just like in the other video by the way, so that I can hear the effect of this compressor very well. Yo, this nonlinear slider is really useful. It reminds me of the saturator, where you also have a parameter here that can, or let me make a new instance so that I don't have to mess with my settings, where you can let it go the other way around. So this is also a ratio or a response curve, but this is for a wave shaper. And this one is actually for a compressor, where it makes even more sense apparently, because the way this gets into the sound is just super smooth. I really like this compressor. I think I'm going to buy it, actually. This is super fascinating what I can do with it. Like the saturation stage, it already sounded good in post, but then I put it to pre, and that's just such a nice way to dial in saturation. I don't know what the difference is between amount and warmth, because I thought just dialing in saturation is the same as adding warmth. Usually it is, but in this case it seems to be something different. But I also don't care, because I just feel these knobs and it works fine. The only thing I would like to have is a little button here that lets me bypass the saturation. Oh, finally, the crackles. Okay, so that I can bypass the saturation, so that I can actually fucking fly. Then I can... Actually, I just took a shower. It just makes no sense that there is a fly in here now. Really makes no sense at all. What was I about to say? Oh yeah, right. I want to be able to disable the saturation, so I can better A/B between having saturation at all and not having saturation. Now there is also a sidechain input, so apparently I can use sidechain inputs. That's pretty cool too. I won't use this feature now, I just wanted to know. There is a mix section with a downwards expander, as far as I can see. So let's see what that sounds like. Why is the... Oh. I understand. This dry-wet control is not for making some sort of parallel compression thing in the standard way, where you have the dry signal and the wet signal and you just find a balance between the two. But the downwards expander and the high-pass filter is on the dry signal. So you are crafting a new dry signal here that is not actually a dry signal, but it's more like a signal that has the properties of the dry signal, plus it is mostly high-end-ish and a little bit more dynamic. So that when you are dialing in the wet signal with it, it acts not as the dry signal anymore, but just to add a little bit of high-end dynamics into the whole thing. Except wet if you don't use these two features, then it is still the traditional parallel compression setup. Someone finally understood what a wet gain parameter is. This is a wet gain parameter, and someone finally understood why a wet gain parameter belongs next to the dry wet control. Every plugin developer I ever talked to who claimed that a wet gain parameter is not as good as an output gain parameter should now watch very closely what I'm going to do. Now I more or less gain matched the signal, and that enables me to put the dry wet parameter to 50% and actually get the 50% dry wet, where you hear 50% dry and 50% wet. And that now enabled me to actually find a good mix level for how much dry and how much wet I want to have without being fooled by the difference in volume. Now I would still like to have an output gain parameter just for the entire thing somewhere, so that I can, now when I disable soloing, that I can tweak it to fit to the signal again. Wait, what kind of bypass button is that? That kind of makes everything very quiet for a short while. Okay, that's a feature that I don't understand yet. I guess it must make sense, but I will have to look into the manual later for that. For now, I will just use the normal bypass button here. Some features I haven't even checked out yet, and they look very important, like input and output in the center of the window. Maybe this is the output gain then? Yes. Okay, so apparently I can use input gain so that it just goes better into the saturation stage and everything. And then there is soft clipping as well. Yeah. So soft clipping just saves you from making it too loud, and probably also sounds very nice and saturating. But I already have the saturation stage down here, so I don't really need it now. Now this is actually a compressor that helps me get forward with this project, because it actually makes the drums so smashy just like I want it, and not just somehow compressed. It really has this smashy tone to it that makes boom. There's no good way to explain that in words, that's just how it is. Obviously that's pretty much the opposite of the compressor that I tested in my last video, because this compressor really doesn't hold back from having a lot of knobs, and it is a huge interface. It's really hard to put some other plugins next to it, but this time it is justified because it has so many knobs. Obviously it also suffers a little bit from big distances, but it is definitely still in the realms of being alright, and the design is also very well made. It looks good, it feels good, it is good. And yeah, I don't know if I was clear about that when I tested it before, but I could hear the difference between feed forward and feedback on the drums. Now I don't want to be unfair. In the other plugin video, I also tested the plugin on some other sounds. Yeah, super nice. And now, again, first I thought that my settings were like super nice. But then I dialed down the wet gain level and used dry wet, and I realized they were only a little bit nicer than the dry signal. And that is just the kind of knowledge that you only get about your settings if you have a wet gain parameter in the plugin, and if this wet gain parameter is next to dry wet. Otherwise, you will always be fooled into thinking that you are the god of compression, which does not bring the music forward. I mean, it makes you feel good, and if you feel good, then that's also very useful for making good music. And if you need that push sometimes, of course, there is no shame in that, because making music is a highly emotional thing. But we should always have the option to just make the sounds act neutral to our inputs. And this option is present in this plugin, and that's what makes this plugin feel like one of the most honest compressors out there. Okay. My conclusion is, I'm still not sure if I want to buy this thing because it's quite expensive, but I'm pretty sure I will because I really like this experience, and it seems like this thing is really versatile. Like I can use it on many different types of material and it will always give me something that I might not even have expected to appear, but that I definitely want to have. When it comes to the drums, it actually gave me exactly what I was wanting to hear, the thing that I was searching for. The secret source of smashiness. And on these more sustained kind of sounds, it just gave me a nice compressor setting that felt correct. I like it.